Hello and welcome to Face to Face. My name is Godfred Akoto Boafo. As we enter the heat of the political season, one of the most volatile topics always is premix fuel. It determines who actually wins the votes in the coastal areas. So my guest today is the man who supervises the premix industry in this country. He also has his eyes on one of the most historically important constituencies in the Greater Accra region, Odododiodoo. Nii Lante Bannerman is our guest on Face to Face. Nii Lante Bannerman, welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you, Coach.
I've been looking for you for a while. It's good you finally dropped in.
I couldn't turn it down.
But first of all, explain to me, why is premix so important for the listeners? A lot of people are wondering every time premix. Explain to the basic person, why is premix important?
Premix is important because at the end of the day, it's the fishers that use it. Governments strategically introduced premix because at the time, the fishers were themselves, with premix, you need the normal fuel that we use for cars and other stuff, and marine mix, which a lot of people call engine oil. Okay. So it's a mixture of the two to get the premix. Okay. And the fishers themselves were mixing these two components to get the premix for their outboard motors. But it was always having an effect, a negative effect on the outboard motors because they didn't really have the technical know-how, the right ratios to use to get the exact component that they want in the premix. It was destroying their outboard motors. So government stepped in to have the relevant authorities, that's Temaoye Refinery, supervised by NPA, to mix the premix for them so that they can get it in the right quantities that they have, so that it will not have effect on the outboard motors, thereby having effects on their pockets. Oh, okay. So government stepped in to mitigate their problems, sort of, by giving them premix. So, and if you know, directly and indirectly, we have about 2 million people depending on fisheries. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine the effect that premix is having on the lives of the people. And because it's subsidized, the actual cost doesn't hit the fishermen. It's what the government is giving to them that they have to buy at, and it gives them some form of reprieve or some form of comfort in purchasing. Because if they should even buy the normal fuel, 1 gallon of normal fuel is around 22, 25 cedis now. And then the marine mix, which is even more expensive than a gallon of fuel, that's super. So the mixture of the components will even go beyond 40 Ghana cedis or 50 Ghana cedis, but it's been sold at 7 cedis, 20 pesos per gallon. So you can imagine, it's going a long way to ease the pressures that are on the fishermen.
It's easing the pressures, but it also looks to be a minefield of corruption, controversy, and all sorts of things. First one, this year we've heard stories about poor quality of premix. You came out to say that wasn't true. What happened? Premix
fuel, like I said, basically is the marine mix and then the super, which a lot of people call PMS. Now, the blue dye that is added to the premix is just to distinguish the premix from the other fuels. And at the point, Tor was short of the blue dye. So the premix was coming without the color. And that's what mischievously some people began to say that it is of poor quality because the color has changed. But the color, and I need to repeat, has no effect whatsoever on the quality of the premix. And that is what we sought to clear.
So it's constantly blue?
No, it's the normal color of the fuel that you buy from the outlets, like the normal fuel stations. Okay. But the blue dye is added to it to give it that blue color to distinguish it from the other fuels like diesel, marine gas oil, and other things. But at a point, Tor was short of the blue dye. Okay. So they weren't adding it. And even they wrote to us that they are short of the blue dye, they will not be able to add it anymore. And we notified all the fishers. It's just a few mischievous people who came out to just throw dust into the people.
Just a few, but this was an issue that was quite significant. How do you move from Accra to Western region, Central region, just to calm people down on this?
Yeah, and if you remember, it didn't take more than a day for people to calm down. And before they even came out to say that, the premix had been on the market for more than 3 weeks without the color, and nobody was complaining because they know that without the color, it is still effective. The premix is still of good quality without the color. But like I said, there were just a few people from Elmina, which I think was led by one man who came out to do that. And I don't even want to go into that because I don't like attacking people's credibility. But this is somebody who was on the premix fuel committee some time back. And the records are there for you to go and check his activities on the premix fuel committee, to the extent that the institutional reps on the premix fuel committee, that is the Ministry of Energy, Association of Oil Marketing Companies, the Fisheries Commission, those people had to step down because they didn't want to involve themselves with activities on the premix fuel committee, which were being perpetrated by these gentlemen at that time.
Okay. Now, again, for myself and for our viewers, break down the process of from tour to how the fishermen get the premix, because perhaps within that we can get to the problem of hoarding and diversions. That is a significant problem. What is the process?
I think before 2017, the activities, for that matter, the supply and distribution of the premix fuel was sort of shrouded in secrecy. Even at the ministry, you can, I like giving references so that you can do your checks. You are a journalist. Even at the ministry, there are people who have come to us to tell us that in as much as they are officials of the ministry, it is only during our term that they've been able to have access to the premises of the premix fuel. You know, we are an agency under the Ministry of Fisheries, so we have our offices in the Ministry of Fisheries. People come to us and tell us this is the first time they are even access to the premix secretariat, and it's mind-boggling because premix fuel, like I said, in the past was shrouded in secrecy. Now, let me take you through what was prevailing before we came in. What was prevailing is that the allocation is basically generated from the secretariat. It's sent to TOR.
Is there a formula for generating the allocation, or you do it on your own timetable?
No. You see, the fishing activities differ from coast to coast. I'll get you into that.
Okay.
But what was prevailing in the past was that the fuel is, the allocations are generated in the secretariat. I don't know what was informing that because I wasn't there. But then from there it gets to TOR, and then TOR sends and it's given to OMCs right from the secretariat before it gets to TOR. TOR distributes it to the very OMCs that have been allocated the premix, and then they in turn bring schedules to TOR as to when and how they want to load, and then it's sent to the various communities. Now, the challenge was that when we came in, if you remember, somewhere November 2017, there were issues of diversions where allegations of about 200 and something trucks that have been diverted and all that. We had a reconciliation exercise with NPA. There were a few diversions, but not to the tune that was quoted. I'm saying it today for the first time.
Really?
Because at that time, we thought of rather remedying the situation than coming out to counter whatever was out there. Because it's really true that there were diversions, but not to the tune. Or let me give you a typical example.
Okay.
Fuel that is supposed to go to Duakro in Cape Coast. Duakro has another name. It just escaped me. Duakro has another name. So if the same name, and it's Google Map that picks the various sites. So if Google Map picks it with the other name, and then you have on your schedule Duakro, it will seem as if the fuel has been taken to a different destination. But in reconciliation, a lot of these things came up and we were able to solve them. But there were diversions. Like, I'm not running away from it, and I'm telling you, there were diversions, but not to the tune that was mentioned.
In the initial report that caused so much controversy.
Exactly. Now, what have we done?
Why haven't you made this public till date? Because for a lot of Ghanaians, that matter it became almost political.
It is political.
For lack of a better word.
We as a nation, for one reason or the other, has politicized premix fuel so much so that it is not having the full effect that it should have. And I'm telling you, I've been there for a little over 2 years, and I can tell you that premix fuel now, I don't know the last time you heard about any diversions, any shortages and stuff like that. And I'm going to give you the reasons why. Now, since 2017, November, before then, and before the issues of the diversions happened, we had written to NPA to finish. You know, NPA has a tracking system where they are able to track all the fuels that are in transit. from wherever they are loaded and wherever they are going. They are tracked right to their destination. Premix is also part. So we wrote to MPA to give us the opportunity or the privilege of monitoring the premix tracks. And now, like I said, from 2017 November, we have the tracking system. Okay. Now, at TOR, before the track even loads and we go into the system, we can tell the amount of fuel that has been loaded at what time. Right from the time it starts loading to the very time it gets full, the track gets full with the premix. You can monitor, so you can see the volumes rising. We can be monitoring from our office till it is done. And then when it moves from TOR, it is tracked to its very destination. So if the fuel is supposed to go to Axim, Apeusika, and the fuel is taken through Ashiaman, and even 10 gallons is taken off, we can tell you the exact location, the very yard that the truck went to, how much quantity was taken off it, what it went, and even if on the way the driver decides to do his own thing by also diverting to do some other things, we can track and tell you the exact time, the quantities that were taken off, and all that till it gets to its destination. Apart from that, since that issues of diversions happened, we've created different platforms, WhatsApp platforms, so that right from TOR, when the fuel is loaded, at the end of the day, all the trucks that are, so assuming yesterday they loaded about 20 trucks, we put all the 20 trucks there. And which platform do we put it on? We have a platform for all MMDCs that are located at where premix fuel is used. So we put it on that platform. The National Premix Fuel Committee, we have our platform, we put it there, including the minister, the deputy minister, and the director of Fisheries Commission. We have another one too for, when the issues of the premix diversions happened, EMT, that's Economic Management Team, headed by His Excellency the Vice President, requested that we use the RCCs, that's the Regional Coordinating Councils, as a conduit for monitoring the premix, aside the operation officers that we have, and that even allocations from Western Region, Central Region, and Greater Accra Region should be initiated through the Regional Coordinating Council. So the regional ministers are supposed to be the head of the monitoring teams in these regions, but their work schedule. So they have also delegated it to some specific people that we use. So those people to have their own platform. So all the fuel, all the allocations are sent on all these platforms. So at the end of the day, if you want to divert premix, you need to connive with the DC, connive with the operations officer, connive with me, connive with the minister. We all have the schedule as to what has been loaded, so what is going where.
So what basically you are saying is that instead of keeping it to a very small group of people, you've expanded it so much that in order to divert, you have to influence too many people.
Precisely.
It has become quite difficult.
Precisely. And the fisherman that needs the fuel is also looking forward to the fuel. Sometimes, in those times, when premix is loaded, sometimes the fishermen don't even know that this one is coming to our very landing beach. So when the premix is diverted, they don't even get to know. And this we've started doing since 2017 November.
But how come we still hear stories of fishermen? You've described a very efficient process, to be honest with you. But we still hear stories of fishermen saying, well, we've been allocated, but the premix didn't get here. The documents say
Kojo, I don't know if you can give me a specific date and time that somebody complained like that. You see, when we send allocations to TOR per their capacity can do between 30 to 50 trucks a day. So it's very obvious that the allocations we send maybe about 220 trucks for the whole nation. They can't do it in 1 week. So your allocation could be there, but you might not have received the fuel within that week. It doesn't mean that your allocation has been stolen. And like I'm saying, these processes that we have put in place have made it possible for us to track every single fuel. And I can tell you on authority, since November 2017, we've not had issues of premix diversions.
Well, according to the MPA, in January, they had 12 diversions.
In January this year?
Yes, 2019.
We are not aware of what you are saying, and it is not true because we are always in. Is it where they have issues? They write to us, we sit, and I've not cited what you are talking about.
Now, also, there are those who believe there are cabals who benefit because, let's be honest, premix is profitable, is it not?
It is profitable if it gets into the wrong hands. And I can tell you on authority that those cabals have been broken.
You are certain, without a shadow of a doubt,
I'm very, very certain
that in 2 years we've been able to break these cabals that were making millions of dollars.
Like I said, the processes I enumerated to you, all the things I've told you, all the platforms I've shown you, They are not in abstract. They are real. And the cabals we are talking about is when we didn't really have control, when we couldn't track the premix fuel, when we didn't know whose hands it was getting into finally. Because once it's loaded, then you can't track, you can't monitor. It gets into the wrong hands. But at the moment, it is not.
What percentage will you say you are at a success level of keeping out cabals and racketeers from the premix industry?
As far as diversions are concerned, I don't know if they even exist because we've not had issues with diversions. What we have issues with is the hoarding at the landing beach.
Let's get there.
That one is done by the fishers themselves. A fisherman comes to buy fuel. Now, I have made sure that the fuel is monitored, it gets right to its destination. The fisherman is at the point where the fisherman should buy. That I have done. Now, if at dawn, a fisherman goes to buy, and at the end of the day, I'm not there to monitor at dawn, and there's no means for me to tell who is buying and at what rate and at what quantities, and the person goes to hoard it in his room and turns around to resell it. It buys from the Landing Beach Committee members.
The Landing Beach work under who?
The Landing Beach Committees work under us.
So how come they can't also monitor in as effective a manner as you?
That is because at the end of the day, they are the beach to sell, and they are human. And because of this, we as a secretariat, and for that matter, the National Premix Fuel Committee, have written to the National Security Secretariat to step in because we don't have the capacity and the men to be doing these things. They have the BNI officials on the ground, they have the policemen, they have the naval forces on the grounds and all that. At almost all these landing beaches, the Navy is there, the BNI is there and all that. So we have officially had a meeting with them. After that, we've written to them to also get their men on the grounds to do this kind of monitoring for us, because that one goes beyond our capacity. So we've done that with the Ministry of National Security.
Progress?
Yes, we are on it. I can tell you that at the moment we are working on some few. I can't reveal everything here. So we are working on some few individuals that very soon you will hear from us.
Let's talk about the OMCs. What is the relationship like between your committee and the OMCs?
Like I said, formerly everything was shrouded in secrecy. Now everything is open, everything is transparent. The relationship is clear for everybody to see. We were at a point inundated with a lot of the OMCs. So we couldn't really do the work we wanted to do the way we wanted to check them on. So we reduced them. Now we have even put them in batches. And if a batch loads this week or for this particular allocation, the next allocation goes to another. And it's even helping us in checking diversions, because sometimes familiarity, we all know, breeds contempt. If I am the one bringing you fuel all the time, every time the fuel goes through me to you, at the end of the day, we can connive to do things our own way. But if I bring you fuel today and the next time Godfred Akoto Boafo is the one bringing it to you, the next one is Bernard Avle that is bringing it to you, there is no familiarization there. So it's also giving us that leverage to also outwit these people who want to do their own thing. Okay. So the relationship is very cordial and transparent.
So, okay, let's break things down a bit more. So you deal with the central region, western region, Greater Accra, perhaps a bit of the Volta region.
Before the regions were divided into 16, we were dealing with 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Since it was divided, I've not really taken the chance to check which of the regions, but we were doing 7 out of 10. We're only not doing Upper East, Upper West in the Ashanti region. Okay. But we're doing Northern, Brongahafo, Eastern, Western, Greater Accra, Volta, Central, yeah.
Where are the hotspots?
The hotspot is the Volta Lake.
What's happening there?
And even that, like I'm entreating you to also do some form of.
Well, we will do so.
Yes, and formerly we had more than 200 and something outlets on the Volta Lake. Before 2017 November, we had more than 200 outlets on the Volta Lake. As I speak to you now, we have less than 90.
Why do you have so many?
We came to meet it, and that's where people were using it to do their own thing. That's where they will send fuel and the fuel will get vanished. They would send fuel and the fuel will not get to the people. Some didn't even exist. You get it? But when we came in, we realized those places and we started cutting them down. But then the people began to agitate. And then we were kind of handicapped because when you know premix, when people begin to agitate, then you are sort of caught in the web as if maybe there is shortage and you are not supplying and all that. We were trying to explain it to people, but they weren't really understanding till the issues of diversions came. And we were able to make a case. And at the Economic Management Committee meeting, they realized that what we were saying was true, that we needed to cut down on the number of outlets that are on the lake. And so we were given the chance to restructure the landing beaches on the lake. And Kojo, let me tell you this. When you go onto the lake, the Volta Lake, most of the places where they utilize the premix are what they call their ports. Okay. So you have major ports at Akaten, Germany, EAG, Abotuase. I think those are the very major ports on the lake. And when you go there, you can easily tell if you really understand the workings of the premix fuel, because it is the outboard motors, the motorized canoes that use the premix fuel. So you can easily tell that, for this particular area, 3 to 4 trucks of premix fuel will be enough for their activities. But they have about 18 outlets, 20 outlets, 22 outlets. What do? 16 out of those outlets will be agitating that they don't have premix fuel. Because when the fuel gets to them, that is when they were able to sell to chainsaw operators, galamsey operators for their chamfans, some motorbikes. And when you go to those places, you realize that you have a lot of rickety cars that are
not roadworthy. They are sometimes very rusty and they don't mind using the premix to fuel those cars. Because at the end of the day, it was of no use. So they were selling to all these people, some for their even their fish farming activities, for the irrigation farms, the pumps, and even for their knapsacks to spray their farms and all that. So they were selling to all these people to the detriment of the nation. And these were things we had identified. And I can tell you, I think there was a time Bernard, we had a chat with Bernard, and I was even telling him about these things before the issues of the diversions. And I think that's one of the things that also saved me, because at the end of the day, I had brought out the issues that I was faced with and the way to go about it. So the diversion sort of gave us the privilege and opportunity to sanitize the system. Now, when we did the restructuring, we made sure that if at the end of the day, 4 or 5 outlets or 6 outlets should be able to service Germany, that is what we give Germany. Okay. If 4 outlets or 2 outlets should service EAG, that is what we give EAG. So eventually we were able to bring the numbers down from over 200 to less than 90. Now, since we began giving them the fuel at that rate, nobody has complained, nobody has agitated. So you have all these successes in the Volta region. Were you surprised? Because there were reports of fishermen or fisher folk in that particular region complaining that they were not getting premix, so they had even quit fishing to focus on basket making and whatnot. I'm sure you heard those stories.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit into the narrative you are telling me.
Yeah, it won't fit, because I know that at the end of the day, that is not the truth.
But they are the ones on the ground.
So I'm giving you, these are people who hitherto were benefiting from the sales of the premix. And because it is no more given in the quantities that they can benefit from, they are trying to give different explanations. My brother, I'm telling you, you see, it's about time as a nation, we all move from what we think should be to what is right. Okay. And that is my focus. I'm a very young man who has come into this. At the end of the day, I believe that I need to excel in whatever. If I'm not doing the right thing, I don't think I'll be there by now. I'm doing the right thing so that at the end of the day, I also leave a legacy. And that is what I'm focused on. Okay. My interest is not to serve any individual's interests. My interest is to do what is best for the nation.
Western and Central region, they are not giving you too much problem?
No, because at the end of the day, they get the right supplies. Occasionally, especially now as I speak to you, we are entering into the bumper season. So the demand for the fuel will increase a little. We know that. And because we have not really entered into the season, there's going to be some few issues of minor shortages that we can deal with. But we are expecting those ones. But by and large, we have not heard about shortages of premix fuel, diversions of premix fuel, almost 2 years down the line.
Okay. You're watching Face to Face with Nii Lante Bannerman, the Executive Chairman of the National Premix Committee. When we return, we'll discuss the outcomes of the very controversial first close season that just went by. Welcome back to Face to Face. Now, Nii, is there really a bumper harvest coming? You had a closed season, and to get it to work was even a problem. And post the closed season, we've done reports from Greater Accra, Central Western. The fisher folks are not too convinced by the effectiveness of this year closed season.
It depends on how you're looking at it. Because at the end of the day, I can tell you that the effects, we've begun seeing the effects. Yes. Even in Accra, where I come from, Jamestown, just in the last 2 weeks, a species of the herrings that we have not seen in 10 to 12 years, they've started catching them. What we call in the local parlance, kankama, and then the pamploche, is, they are very, I don't know how to, but they are versions of the herrings. Okay. And when you see those ones, then you know there's going to be bumper harvest. And those ones, we've not had them. I live in Jamestown. I come from Jamestown. We've not seen them in 10 to 12 years.
But now you are catching them. Yes, if we go there, we'll see.
If we go there today, I can tell you, we can see them. And they are catching them. And they are signs of bumper harvest, which we have not had in there. You see, we've not even had one crate. I don't know if you know the crate that they use.
I've seen that.
We've not even had one crate of kankama in the last 10 to 12 years. But now we are getting 16 crates, 17 crates, 15 crates.
And are the fishermen linking that to the 1 month of closed season that you organized?
Let me tell you something. It is not for nothing that closed season is in our Fisheries Act. It is not for nothing. But no government had had the confidence, the political will to implement closed season. If you remember in 2015, John Mahama spoke about it, but he couldn't implement it. Now we have implemented it. We were looking at implementing it between July and September. The fishers then, even if you remember last year, when we wanted to have the closed season, they agitated and we had to postpone it. And so the stakeholder engagement started right from the time the engagements broke down. We started from last year. And we were able to meet all the stakeholders to the extent that they were the people that we told to bring us the dates on which they want to embark on the closed season. We were looking to have it between July and September because that's when you have the major dividends of the closed season. Closed season done between April, May, June will yield just about some 3% dividends maximum. Closed season done between July to September will give you about 25% dividends. So we were hoping that they would let us do it around that time. But their argument was that most of them along the beach or along the coast celebrate their festivals between July and September. And it is the fishing activities that generate some small funds for them to engage with their people during the festivities. And so they wouldn't be able to do that. So they gave us the dates. I mean, the artisanal and inshore. We know we have about 4 types of fishing industries in Ghana. Okay. We have the artisanal, which is the normal canoe people that we know. We have the inshore, which is like the trawlers, but a little smaller, and they go a little further than the artisanal, the canoes. And then we have the industrial trawlers, and then we have the tuna. The tuna people are regulated by the International Convention for Aquatic Tuna, and so they have their own set of rules, and they have their own closed season that they observe already. Now, the trawlers have been observing closed season since 2016.
Have they been observing?
Yes. The trawlers, it is only the artisanal and the inshore fishers that have not been observing closed season. And that is what the ministry sought to break and bring them on board to also observe the closed season. Now, as I speak to you, from 1st August, I mean the past 1st August to 30th September, the trawlers are observing their closed season. And they are doing it at a time that the ministry really and scientifically will help our waters, will help our fishery stock. So they started this on the 1st of August, and they are going to end on the 30th of September, 2 months. Don't be surprised these fish, the artisanal fishers I told you have begun getting enough fishes. Do you know why? The trawlers are above them. So the fishes that are supposed to come to them, the trawlers are able to catch most of them. Now, they are not on the waters. What have we started experiencing?
Okay, so that's why their catch is also
increasing.
So are you convinced that 2020, if you come out and say, and we all know what happens in 2020, it's an election year, you come out and say we are doing another closed season, you will get enough buy-in from Greater Accra, Western, Central, and all the other places that you serve to be able to do an effective closed season again? Because you've now institutionalized it. You have institutionalized it. You can't run away. You can't run away.
And I'm answering you. These are people who have even requested that the 1 month is too short a period for them because of
Mr. Bannerman.
Because of the, I go around the fishing committees that anybody does. I'm telling you. I go around, apart from maybe the Minister of Fisheries and the deputy, I go around the fisheries, the coastal areas than any other place. And I'm telling you, let me tell you something. I went with the MP for Senya, I've forgotten the particular, but Honorable Kojo Asimeni. He has Fete and Nyanyanu within his jurisdiction. Immediately after the close season, I went rounds with him in his constituents. And we have the pictures. Maybe later I can forward them to you. What the fishers were saying. The only problem they had was that we should make sure that the illegal forms of fishing are also stopped, and that the close season they have begun seeing the benefits, and they want the day at a time to be increased to about 2 months. And I'm telling you, moving along the coast, these are sentiments that we are picking. I'm not saying that is what we are going to do, because at the end of the day, we need to engage them. You need to engage them to know if they really want to extend it. But as to if the close season will be continued, they've seen the dividends and they are going to continue.
Oh, okay. That's good to hear. And next year, I'm hoping to have you in this chair again.
Okay, so let me tell you something.
And hoping that you will repeat these things you are telling my audience today.
I made a comment that as a nation, we need to move on from what we think we want to what is right. Now, just last Saturday, an MP had the audacity, if I should put it that way, to stand in public and say that people should not believe that close season will have any effect on our seas, and that it is God that rains fishes from the heavens into the waters. Come on, my brother. For a legislator to be talking like this? You see, we need to move away from politics. The fact that you didn't have the political will to implement some of these things doesn't mean you should run it down when somebody is doing it. Who can tell me that God rains fishes from... I am a Christian, I believe in God, but God does not rain fishes from heaven into our waters. Close season is observed in almost all fishing countries. Why don't we do it in Ghana? People don't have the political will. People are... The one that has got the political will is doing it, and then you stand in public and make these comments. Sometimes it tells me some of our people are very ignorant. I must be blunt.
Okay.
I must be blunt, because I don't see how a legislator, educated one for that matter, stand in public and say that God rains fishes from heaven. Because I don't know what you think about this.
Well, I have no comment on the matter, but since you started talking politics, we'll take our final break, and when we return, we'll talk about Nii Lante Bannerman's political ambitions. It includes unseating Nii Lante Bannerman. Welcome back to Face to Face. Honorable, so let's talk about Odododiodoo politics now. You have an eye on Odododiodoo. In fact, you've had an eye on it for a very long time. You are hoping things go better this time around.
By God's grace, it is going to be.
Odododiodoo is not easy. It's Nii Lante Bannerman's constituency.
Oh, and I don't think I'm not aware of that it is Nii Lante Bannerman. Right from the onset, I've been aware that it's Nii Lante Bannerman.
What is making you so confident that you can take down a political colossus like Nii Lante Bannerman?
The motivation that I had to contest him in 2016 is still the motivation I have now. And that it is beatable.
He is?
It's very, very beatable.
You had what, 26,000 votes back then?
Yes.
He had 38?
He had 30.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah. And you feel he's beatable?
He's beatable.
Why?
Maybe my figure didn't really change from our candidates in 2012. It's just about some 400 or 600 difference between myself and then the candidate in 2012. But he's dropped from 45,000 to that figure. And you think he's not beatable? The difference before was about 20,000. It dropped to below 10,000. And you think it's not beatable? Let me tell you something.
What is happening there?
A lot of things happened during that time. And I'm telling you, those things will not be repeated by my camp again. No.
Like, do you care to share? Or is part of internal
there are a few
strategy?
things I can share with you.
Okay, share the few things you can share.
You know, in 2016, they devised a way of attacking those from NDC who had defected to MPP and were following us to for our rallies and other things. Immediately after the rallies, you are identified. They attack you in your house with your parents and other things. So people, and you know, a lot of people too at that time were being misled that Nana could never win the election. So even if they voted for me, there was no way I was going to even have what it takes to help the constituency and all that. So a lot of people, in as much as didn't come out to vote for us, who had defected from their camp, didn't also come out to vote for them. And this time around, they've seen it. Let me tell you, we are not in 2016. We are not in 2017. We have a lot of defectors in Odododiodoo who are willing to even be showcased.
Still?
But I don't play that kind of politics.
Okay.
I don't play because these are people who originally don't belong to you. A time might come that they will decide to go back. And so if you have brought them to the public domain to show them off that these are people who have defected and they go back, what do you do? So this is about, you see, there are a lot of things that we need to do to really keep the momentum. And the NDC in Odododiodoo are living in denial.
Are you sure?
I wouldn't want to talk much about that, but I'm telling you they are living in denial. The grounds as it stands now, Kojo, I like it when I say it and I want you to go and do it. You can go and do your investigations. You can go and do your research. The grounds are there for you to tell a story. I don't think it's for nothing that my constituency executives paid for my forms for me. It is not for nothing.
But you're not going on a post though.
Yes, but because they are not stopping anybody. But they have given direction that as executives, this is the direction we want to take. This is the person we believe can win the seat for us.
Honorable, you sound confident.
Yes, you see, a lot of people are asking questions that why would the executives do that? Pick a form for one candidate. And sincerely, when I met them and expressed my interest in contesting again, I was overwhelmed by the feedback from them. And what they told me was that they needed to show leadership. In as much as they are not supposed to take sides, they needed to show leadership by showing direction. And it is one of their mandates is for the fact that they should be able to identify a winnable candidate for the constituency. And it's part of their mandate as executives. So if they found one, they should not hesitate to make it clear to everybody. Now, it will interest you to know that since I lost the elections in 2016, I've still been with the executives in the constituency. I've been able to help them. We organize extra classes we organize free SHS extra classes. And let me break it down for you. When the gold track is in school, the green track is home. We engage them. We give them math sets, books, pens, everything that they would need to go about their learning activities. When the green track also leaves and the gold track, we engage them. Now, every year, we make sure that at the end of the day, all the BEC students in the constituency are given extra tuition about 3 months to the exams. At the end of the period, we go from school to school, all the schools in the constituency, to give all the JHS 3 students a math set and all the things they will need to write their final exams. And this is something we have been doing. Apart from that, all the activities that the constituency has engaged in have been there with them.
It's good you mentioned education, and that constituency that you are talking about has a weak educational system.
Yes.
People don't want to go to school. We've done several documentaries. The Ghana Education Service supports this. Giving math sets and all those things help, yes. But does it really solve the problem? It's one of the poorest.
So that is not going to solve all the problems. But now, let me tell you, it is not every parent that will have the money to buy the children books, to buy the children math sets and all that. Now, aside that, when you go to High Street SDA, as I speak to you, today is Tuesday. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I'm going there with technicians to build up their lab for them. What we are doing is to bring in software, educational softwares for the students to be able to write from nursery to JSS 3 that they will be able to use to learn and all that. And this is not the only thing we are doing. I'm collaborating with other institutions in the area to give them this same, because this is a software that somebody introduced to me from outside. And I'm trying to get it for all the schools in the community. And I will not need so much to do that, because all I need is enough monitors and maybe one processing unit to be able to connect, and then they can all have access to these things. So these are things that we know that we are deficient when it comes to education in one way or the other. So these are things that with the executives we have been doing to make sure that the party remains relevant in the constituency. Let me tell you, let me place it on authority that before 2016, MPP was almost defunct in Odododiodoo. Because from 2004, we lost the election by a little over 4,000. By 2012, we were losing by more than 20,000. It was only during my term that it reduced rather from 20,000 to a little below 10,000. And since then, we've kept the party very vibrant, very lucrative. Let me say this. I'm not coming back to premix, but I want to use this as an example. When you come to Gamashi, we have 3 outlets of premix fuel in Gamashi at the beach. Now, during the NDC time, 2 people were controlling all the 3 outlets, but per the airline that regulates premix fuel, each outlet should be manned by 7 people.
Okay.
But they had 2 people manning all the 3 outlets. Now, when we came on board, what we did is that all the outlets in Ghana, we made sure they are manned by 7-member committees. And that is what the airline requires. Now, when you come to Gamashi, there is a 53% component of the premix fund benefits that should go for community development. It's by law. By the time we took over, no community in Ghana could even account for 1,000 Ghana cedis. Those who cared to pay were paying just about 200 Ghana cedis, 300 Ghana cedis, and at the end of the day, they were using those monies to fund some political activities. Some MPs benefited from T-shirts and other things with community development fund, my brother. Now, in just 2 years, Gamashi, where I come from, the community development fund, when they accounted, every 3 months, the committee members account for the community development fund. And in 2 years, they were accounting to an amount of 220,000 Ghana cedis. So they met the fishes as to what the money should be used for, because that's what the LI stipulates, that you should engage the fishers and decide on what to use the money for. After the close season, they use the money to share nets, hook and line, basins, crates, a whole lot of things that each and every fisherman benefited from. The hook and line fishers, they are 45. All of them were given hook and line gear to do their activities. Those that use nets were given nets. The women were given basins. They shared 120 basins. And this is not for, and these are the things that these people have seen, and they've realized that no, there is a party that that seeks their welfare. There is a party that has their welfare at heart, and they have defected. And that is what I'm telling you. The last time our MP was on your show, claiming that it is my organizer who is in charge of premix fuel in the community. My organizer doesn't work there. He doesn't know anything about premix fuel. It is the good works that the committee members are doing with the premix funds that is making the heads of the fishermen tilt the other way. And it is not because my organizer is in charge of the premix and he's taking their people. No.
So he's not?
He's not at all. He's never on the committee. The records are there. We have it in our office. AMA, all the records are with the because per the law, the committees are to be reconstituted by the district assemblies and sent to us. And my organizer is not on the premix committee. He has never been there.
Now, you talk about how you are contributing and people are making use of the community funds and whatnot. There's a lot of resettlement happening in there based on massive developmental projects that the government is undertaking. There's a party, the NPP make up the government, so you belong to that. And we've heard murmurs of people saying, look, we don't like being moved. Some of these infrastructure projects.
Please, can you be specific?
Yeah, we are talking about things like the Marine Drive. We're talking about...
The Marine Drive is not in my constituency.
It's not in your constituency?
No.
Okay.
The only thing that is happening in my constituency at the moment is the Jamestown Harbour.
As well.
Yes. And nobody has complained about resettlement because for a fact, that is not where they are. Nobody is supposed to settle there and they know it. And they are the same.
But there was a demolition exercise that took place there.
Yes.
And people were not happy.
They were not happy. The few ones who were not happy.
Few?
Yes, few. Because they had put up commercial how do I put it? Commercial
Businesses
there. And when I say commercial, there was one that had put up a hotel or something, which was in the way of the project. And this is not a land that can be sold to you. It's government land. It's a coastal. It's the beach, and you can't own that property. It's made for a harbor, so definitely you cannot be there. And you see, these are the things that we are saying. When you get to the grounds and you talk to the people, they are excited. They are very excited about what is coming, because at the end of the day, they are the same youth that are going to get jobs from the harbor that is going to be built. They are the people that will be engaged. At the end of the day, after the harbor has been built and it gets operational, they are the same people who will be employed to work there. So they are excited about those things. Like I said, people are trying to politicize all these things, like play on the minds of some of these people. They are finding the youth playing on the minds of these youth to be agitating and to be saying things that are. Were you not aware that my MP came on one of your shows or something to say that after the close season, all the fishermen were bringing down were weeds?
I've heard.
Yes, and it is not true. We are politicizing everything in this country, which is not good. At the end of the day, developmental projects are coming. The people are excited. Let's not politicize these things.
Okay.
Let's not put politics in the way of development.
But internally as well, I think you are coming up against Nii Lante.
Yes.
He's quite formidable. He's not
Very
somebody
formidable.
you can overlook in your
No,
area.
I'm not.
He comes from a solid political background.
And I'm not being complacent. I think I contested him in the last elections, and
you beat him.
I was able to go over, move on. So I'm not being complacent, but I'm also not shaken by his presence. No, at all.
So, come September, when
28th.
Do
you want me to give you figures?
I don't want you to give me figures. I don't want you to give me.
We have close to about 875 delegates. If you add the executive, add the Council of Elders, Council of Patrons, electoral area coordinators, you're getting close to about 925. Very confidently, we can do some 700.
Thank you very much, Honorable. And we wish you well in your political aspirations and also your work on the premix committee.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure hosting Nii Lante Bannerman, who is the executive chairman of the National Premix Fuel Committee, also looking to contest the Odododiodoo parliamentary seat on the ticket of the MPP. Come September 28th, there will be a parliamentary primary for that particular. We'll be keeping an eye on. And then, like I said, this political season and face-to-face will be heavily involved in that. So keep watching Face to Face on Citi TV. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the show. My name is Godfred Akoto Boafo. See you next time.